today's topic of discussion of workshop is like basically for Python for data science and why Python have chosen for the data science domain. So because Python have easy to use and it's have easy syntax in comparison with the C++ or Java like language. So Python is easy to use for the data science, and most of the data science community have chosen the Python language for the data science because Python have a huge library for the data science. Basically, we've seen like many popular Python toolbacks library have like NumPy, SciPy, Panda, Skiplearn, and visualize libraries like Blockly, Seaborn, Polotly have various huge types of library for data science. So this is why Python have chosen for the data science domain. So one by one, we have studied, well, we have learned the library for the data science Python. So first of all, we have studied the NumPy library for data science and why NumPy have used for the data science libraries basically because we have when we have done the data science projects or any other projects in ML or data science or data engineering, basically we have used the multi-dimensional array and matrices and this types of functions basically to perform advanced types of mathematical functions which have used in these projects and they provide vectorization of the mathematical operations in the array and the matrices, which significantly improve the performance of the model or data science projects. So NumPy has a very huge uses in the data science model or projects when will the live projects is going on. So is a one of the best library in Python domain. So in next library we have studied like SciPy. SciPy denote the scientific Python. SciPy is basically denote the scientific Python, which have a collection of huge types of algorithm, basically like linear algebra, the differential equations, numerical integrations, and statics. Because statics is one of the most important concept in the data science or data field, and most of the learners have ignored the statics field in initial uh, preparation. So that's why SciPy is a very important library for the data science, and it's built on the NumPy concept. Next library we have studied for with a Python library, pandas, because you know pandas has huge data structures and they have tool designed to work with a table like pairs, basically similar to the data frames or the series, like in our same concept also in our languages. And pandas provided tool for the data manipulations like reshaping, merging, sorting, slicing. There are various manipulation data technique like CSV and merging types of techniques. And pandas also allow handling of the missing data, and they are using the data cleaning and find out the missing data. Next Python library is Scikit-learn. Skilled is very important for the if you have study for the machine learning domain algorithm like the classification, clustering, SVM, support vector machines. So this scikit-learn is very important because they have built on the NumPy, SciPy, and they performance various model projects in machine learning domain. So this is one of the most important library in the machine learning domain, and it's also used in the data science because it's overlapping the same with the data science and the machine learning. So that's why skit-learn is very huge important for the machine learning and data science both fields. So because they have huge work on the algorithm like SVM, support vector machines, XGBoost, and regressions, linear regression, model regression, and clustering. So that's a huge types of uses in this machine learning algorithm like model validations, and it's built on the NumPy, Skype, and Matplotlib. And next library for the data science basically is like Matplotlib, because when we have done the data science projects, we have a problem to the problem how to deal with the the projects in 2D or 3D types in like 2D libraries. 1 minute. Because when we have done the data science projects or machine learning, when we have deal the problem like how to plot this in numbers or coordinate, and how to plot this in the projects. So basically matplotlib plays very crucial role in this data science model or projects or machine learning. So because matplotlib is basically python 2D plotting library, like which produces publication quality figures and had various formats, and it's a set of functionalities basically similar to the those of matplotlib. If you have studies in the initial of your engineering or science domain, you have know that what's is matplotlib programming, because matlab programming is one of the side programming in which if you have done in the engineering or basically science domain. So it's similar to the MATLAB. So it's have a same similar in line plots and the scatter plot when we have present the data in the scattered way, because when we have scattered the data in scattered plot, so we have clear picture about the data insights, and we have a clear picture about the data side, and we get the data inside more and more like data mining concept, because when we have crosses the data, more information is coming out from the model or projects. So basically more insights is coming from the. So in my thinking, matplotlib is a very important library in, if you are beginner or if you have moved to in this domain, so you know about the matplotlib library and their uses, because in initial year in initial preparation candidate have and preparation have not going to like is taught technical, but just pass the technical test, so that's go. So in my thinking, you have must know about the basic functional of libraries, main functionality of libraries, what types of uses, and their functionality similar to the like what domain. So matplotlib is basically relatively low level and some effort needed to create advanced visualization. And matplotlib is the biggest advantage like that you have created the greater visualization by this help. Like you have present the data in more visualized manner. So that's why matplotlib. So that's why matplotlib is very important, because they have 2D format types, because they had scattered the data. So I think I have covered the most of the concept in matplotlib. So next library we have studied is like Seaborn, because Seaborn is basically similar to the matplotlib, but it's greater features and greater advances than matplotlib, because matplotlib have some drawbacks to the present data in a more. Matplotlib is not unable to do the data in more high level interest like c1 have done. So c1 have made on like based on the matplotlib concept, and they have provided the high level interfaces for the drawing attractive visualization graphs and statistical graphs. That's why candidate who have done the projects, they have gained the complete information about the insight of data, and like they have done the more data mining or data cleaning types of. So that's why Seaborn library have most of the uses for the data science, and they are similar in style of popular ggplot library. If you have learned the R language, Then you know about the ggplot2 library have also same features like the cbon library in python for the data science. So that's why cbon library is basically first on the made on the based on matplotlib, and they provided high level interfaces for drawing attractive statistical graphics. So is- if you have a beginner in this domain, so first, so one of the best so please ask me any question regarding this concept. So please ping me in messages, then I will proceed. Please ask me any question of topic. If you have no question, then I will move further, because most of the data science Python library for data science is covered well, like general way. So please ask me any questions. I think no any questions. Okay, okay, I then move further. So if you have new in the data science domain or new in machine learning domain or like, so one of the best concept, one of the best format which have you run the code and run the query effectively, it's a like Jupyter notebook, because it has a easy to use GUI interfaces, and a beginner have lost faces not so much difficulty in attempting coding and done visualization technique. And Jupyter Notebook has a pre-installed library of data science like Cbon, NumPy. They have a pre-installed library in this Jupyter Notebook. And apart from that, any other library you have, if you have installed in this, so you have proper install the like pip install or like other types of things. So that's why Jupyter Notebook have a play various very good role for the beginner types of candidate. And most of the beginners have preferred that Jupyter Notebook, not a Google Colab, because Google Colab is also great, but the Jupyter Notebook is a very edgy in this sector. So if you have stored the file in the Jupyter Notebook, is basically for save in the format is basically IP. You have should see the closer is to save the file in the .ipynb format, because if you like similar in the like if you have saved the Excel format in file .xlx, and in similar Jupyter Notebook format, it's like ipynb which I've saved like. So first of all, uh, firstly we have loading the Python library. Like we have studied the NumPy, import NumPy. NumPy is basically for the mathematical calculations. SciPy is basically for the scientific Python calculations, and Panda is like mathematical man matplotlib, and matplotlib is a like visualize the graph in greater manner, and Cbone also is based on the Cbone also make a made on the matplotlib format is similar like, and after writing this libraries like import numpy is np, skypy is sp, pandas is a pd, and matplotlib. Then you have moved like you have pressed the shift plus enter, because in Jupyter format you have entered the shift plus enter to execute the Jupyter shell, because by this entering the key you have entered the code in the Jupyter shell, and they have moved the code to the further and run the code effectively. In comparison of the Google Colab, you don't enter the press plus enter, you just enter the code and you have executed the code in the Google Colab. But in context of Jupyter Notebook, you have pressed the shift plus enter key to execute the Jupyter shell. So one of the most important concept in Python language or other language, basically data frame, data types, because every programming language have the some data types which have you have not to you have should not to know about what types of data types they have, because when the data is present to you, so data is present in the some data types like string format, integer format, in floating. So that's why we have sufficient knowledge about the data types, because if you have sufficient knowledge about the data type, what types of data is format is present, so you have more chances to like get insights more about data. So pandas type basically object, and its native Python types is basically string, because they have discussion about like they have most general d type will be assigned to your column basically, and if a column has a mix types, numbers and string, so basically they have similar types of assigned to the column. And the next concept is here like int 64. In pandas types, pandas is basically similar library. Like if in pandas they have int 64, but in native Python type it's a basically integer, but they have both the same things. Like it's a basically numeric character, like 64. Basically, you have no 64 to the maximum language, and it is it refer to the memory, because the 64 is the upper limit of the numeric character, and it's therefore the memorily allocated to hold this character in that way. And next concept we have used data frame, data time. Data frame is basically like in which data frame data is stored, like its object is int, float, date time. That's why they had data frame about data types. So you should know about the data frame, because ultimately you store the data in the data form frame. Because if you think after this loading the Python library, you then move the data in the pd.read-csv types of data. So that's why data frame have one of the most important uses. Like if you have know the in which data is stored in the data frame, then high chances you that get the data insights, more data insights. And next concept is basically date time, float 64, because float in 64 in pandas in same is like the float native Python type, because because they have same numeric character with decimals. If a column contain numbers and nans cblos, panda will be default to float 64. In case you're missing value, they have give that correct decimal value to the candidate. And date time 64. So we have studied like we have talking about the data frame, in which data frame are stored like date time and 64. So basically they have most of the uses data Python types, basically string, int, float and date time, because date time 64 pandas type is very like hold the time and look into this for the time series experiment. If you have done the time series analysis, is a other domain, time series analysis. In this time series analysis, you have used the date time concept and pandas types in time series analysis, which have most of you use in these projects. Like we have studied about the data frame attribute in which Python object have attributed and method. Like df signifies the data frame, and in short frame it signifies the df. So df signifies the data frame. Df dot attribute, and it's about descriptions. So d types signify the list the types of the columns, what types of columns are present in the d types. And next thing about the df dot attribute is basically column, like list the column name in which data is present in this column, and its axis lists the row label and the column names. And and dimension is short form, it's like and dim. It's basically a number of dimension, it's 2 dimension and 3 dimensions. So basically is short format is attribute is for the df dot attribute is and dim. And size, because you have should know about the sizes of the your data frame attribute, because you have to use types of data frame. That's is a tricky task for the applicant or candidate to run the program your gpu or other things. And the next concept is using the df dot attribute is shape, like return a tuple is also a data types in concept, like value. And next thing is df dot attribute is basically a value which have numpy representation of the data. So next data frame is basically a group by method. Group by method also is present in the SQL language if you know about the SQL. So group by performance not, like no grouping splitting occur until it's needed. So creating the group by object only verify that you have passed a valid mapping. By default, the group keys are sorted during the group by operations. By default, the group keys are sorted during the group by operation. You want to pass sort false for potential speed up. So that's why group by is basically they have used the creating the group by object and only verify that until you pass the valid mapping. And next concept is basically in data frame is like slicing. Slicing is basically like is used the subset the data frame, or like subsidize the data format in the smaller one, like similar one or more column in one more row. So basically slicing is used for the to subset the data frames, like in general indexing manner, subset of row and column. Row and column can be selected by their position, like slicing is signify the position of the row and column according to their places and label wise. So slicing is very important concept, you should know. So missing value, because if you know that in data field you faces a very good types of missing value in your projects on data model. So so next, like missing value. When you deal with the data science project or machine learning project, you will faces the missing value dilemma, that when summing the data, you will get the missing value, like it will be treated as a zero, but it's not a zero. So when summing the data, missing value will be treated as zero. So so if all values are missing, then sum will be equal to the nan. And come sum and come prod method ignore missing values but preserve them in the resulting error. So I think missing values in group by method are also excluded, just like in error, just like in R. So many descriptive is statics method because statics and data science concept is overlapping. If you know about the if you if you know about static method, then high chances that you know also about the data science is various descriptive statics analysis like skip na is like is the data cleaning or data finding method for the missing value. So it's control if you missing the data, it should be excluded. So this value is set to be true if you are unlike in R. So that's why missing value is important. So next concept is like is aggregation function in pandas. Basically aggregation function in pandas basically like it's aggregate the computing is summarize statics into the each group. Like aggregation basically uses like is aggregating the concept in each group. I like compute group sums and means and computes group and size by counts. So common aggregations functions like min max, count, sum, production, mean, median, mod, mad, std, and var denote the variance. So that's why aggregation function is pandas is and aggregation function in SQL also is same. So if you know about aggregation function in pandas, so it's really easy for you to handle in data in the SQL also. Like aggregation function is so same as like is computing a summarized statics for the each group is computing each groups or means. So that's why I compute groups or size and they have common aggregation functions.